Good morning, Union Branch. Minister Ross Gordon here today to introduce a piece that I think might be one of the greatest opportunities that I've ever had, and that's to sit down with the Reverend Dr. Andrew J. White Sr., not to pick his brain, but to just have a conversation. And if you know about sitting down with Reverend Dr. Andrew J. White Sr., you just don't get opportunities like this often. And when you get it, you have to make sure that you don't waste the moments. He doesn't. He is a wordsmith. He's able to make things make sense. And I will forever be grateful for the opportunity just to ask one question, which is the miracle on Union Branch Road. How did it come to be? What is the thought process behind that? And it opened the doors to so many other things, so many other opportunities, so many other questions, so many other comments that I will be forever in his graces for doing what he did for me. I present to you maybe the most impactful piece I've done as a member of the media. I sit down with the one and only Reverend Dr. Andrew J. White. I think one of the things, we're talking about Black History Month.
Black History Month.
Black History Month, and I think one of the things that we appreciate the most at Union Branch was your ability not to only be a part of history, but to help us make it. The Miracle on Union Branch Road was the name of our church, and you kind of coined that phrase. You coined that phrase, the Miracle on Union Branch Road. There's a lot of history in that spot, but what was some of the things you were thinking about, and why the Miracle on Union Branch Road?
Well, when I went there, it was just an open situation. I was younger than I am now. The church was already aged, but it was people who were young at heart. They didn't get old in spirit. They kept themselves fresh and open and seeing what the Lord wanted done and what he wanted to do in that community. And they felt that somehow Union Branch, the church, had a role to play in developing the community, because the church makes people who make community, who make things better for people. So always the idea of what can this church do to make things better for people in their soul, their bodies, their schools, their everyday life, their home life, everything. And that's what the church tried to do. Now, of course, and that it solicited everybody, so everybody could help. Everybody had his particular talent and his particular ability, and we needed all of that. Rather than cutting out people, we tried to encourage people to come in, and people did that. And they sometimes kind of slowly, but they did it, and they were consistent. Even after the church was founded down the road. But because of the goodwill of a lot of members and putting together, they were able to find the land. And they bought the land, and they built the church that they thought was according to their pocketbook or sizes, but they found out that the church had to be bigger than what they thought their pocketbooks were. So they started with a building that soon that was overrun before it was finished. And so the ideas came that we got to be larger than that. We need more space. We need a larger ministry, a ministry that impacts the community more so. The church that will add to the brightening of not only the spiritual life of people, but the everyday life of people, and their aspirations, and their hope, and their dream. And that's what the church became. So we kind of coined the phrase, it was a miracle that it happened, and it happened on Union Branch Road.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And people have stuck with it because of the loyalty, the dedication, the commitment, and the dreams of people. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's a building, yes. But it is a building that was built on the aspirations.
I think one of the good things that you just said, and and people might miss sometimes, is the building was built.
Yeah.
But it was built so that somebody else down the road could
Yeah.
see how much it meant to that community and how much it meant at that time to people who may not have seen structures of this size and structures that could do some of the things that Union Branch Baptist Church could do. In the planning process, was that something that you guys were thinking about as you were going through?
The church had come out of a background that caused for some unity in the first place. The people, the founders had dreams. They didn't always know what those dreams were, but they kept themselves open to the hand of God, the movement of God, and the willingness of people. They believed that people could do things. So the dream began to develop. They could see what the possibilities were, not only for the spiritual life of the community, but for the school life, for the day-to-day family life, and for the whole community. And so the church, as much as difficult as it was at time, the people became, they were die with a dream. I mean, I say D-I-E, not die, but they were imbued with a dream. And they went forward. And it took sacrifice. It took working together. It took sticking together. And they did that. They did it in the church, they did it for revival, they did it for the community. At one time, the church was like for young kids who go to kindergarten, it was ready for them to get started in the morning, they meet at the church. And if they go by certain buses, they pick up the kids from the church. See, every day. So it became a part of the community, enmeshed in the community, and dreamed that God could do anything through them.
You look at some of the things that this church has done, and it's not only some of the dreams of some of our former deacons or some of our former members, but it takes buy-in from a church as a whole.
Yeah.
One of the things I think that Union Branch has always had was a sense and a value system that when we come together, we can do anything special, and I think that gives the Miracle on Union Branch Road something even bigger than that, because this was and still is a community and a body endeavor.
Yeah, you see, what happened was, it was not in the building, it was in the people.
Yeah.
And the people were able to take that dream and make that dream come alive in actuality, into a building, yes, but a building for something, for spiritual growth, for the development of families and homes. A lot of people bought homes out of it. In fact, church was able to get that land, and then when the church moved up, the aspiration, the work, and the dreams of people worked too. So they supported each other. I mean, the church, and not only that, but not only within that community, it spilled over into other churches in the county. They caught that kind of like a Union Branch spirit, that with Christ we can do all things. In Him, all things are possible. And for us here and now, not only in the great by and by, but in the after now, it can do things for people in terms of inspiration, on their education, on their family life, on their job, and everything. And therefore, the street had to take, the road had to take the name of Union Branch. That's what it was. It was the Union Branch spirit. And so one time, you see, they had a route number and a box number.
Yeah.
And that's why it became Union Branch Road.
Right.
The church took on the name, the community took on the name of the church. And then the people individually had dreams, and they worked their individual dreams as if the credit is coming back to the church, and it did. It influenced people to go to school, to dare, to know that they could do it with God. All things are possible. Small beginnings, but you can never determine what the end's going to be when you hold your hand, because you have one on your side who can make all things new and make all things possible. So it was a fundamental belief that carried them. It was not just trying to be big or try to be a building, because it's more than a building. It's a spirit. And you can't control that. When people get that dream, and that dream is deeply embedded in their souls, things around them start happening. And so the aspiration, education, community, and the community life was pretty much directed by the influence of the church. So goes the church, so goes the community. So now, going through the community is the name of the church. It's the road.
Yeah.
People didn't ever realize that they would get that mail on the Union Branch Road. But now they're getting the mail on Union Branch Road.
Yeah. So let me ask you this now,
Uh-huh.
and I know this is going to be a part of my personal privilege because I was able to start the camera and I was able to ask you the questions.
All right.
I know you're never one that takes credit for a lot of stuff. And this month of Black History, I know you might not see yourself up there with the Martin Luther Kings and all those individuals, but to a lot of people, your life has been a testimony to what God can do if you allow Him to lead your life. And we celebrate you as well. It's not only the Miracle of Union Branch Road, but we celebrate you during this month as well. Talk a little bit about your journey even to now. Because again, you're not as young as you used to be.
That's right.
You tell us all the time.
Yeah.
But you're still moving. You're still doing what God has called you to do.
Well, you know, Martin Luther King, I had the opportunity to personally know him. When he made his, before he made his I Have a Dream speech, I introduced him when he spoke at Virginia State. He spoke on the college ground at Virginia State. And it was a kind of a echoing of the spirit. See, Martin Luther King, his daddy had been a preacher. And I remember Reverend Curtis Harris and I went to Montgomery to help organize the organization. We were the first ones there. There were about 200 preachers there from all over the state. And the movement really got started out there. And by the way, I met Rosa Parks right here. And she came right to this community. And I had the opportunity to drive with her. Rosa Parks, yes. And it was a thing that you could catch it. It was a feeling because the people on the march, they were ready for some changes and they were ready to get out there in a non-violent way. Nobody shooting anybody, nobody fighting, but carrying God's will on through people. And Union Branch was a big factor in that whole movement. I mean, throughout the state. The persons who led the movement were persons who, some of them, who came out of Union Branch Church. See? Walter Washington was an anchor there. All of these deacons and trustees, there's a little booklet with the deacons' pictures in it, about 20 of them. All of these men from down Union Branch who made such a tremendous impact on what happened. Yeah.
Maybe because it looked like what you talk about guys like James Hill.
James Hill, yeah.
You talk about some of the first
Timothy
black
Threet,
business owners. Timothy Threet. Albert Threet. Some of the first black business owners in the city of Petersburg that had businesses in Petersburg and who did well for the community. It's a lot of history.
Yeah.
Deacon Wright as well.
Yeah.
All of the history that we have at Union Branch, and you sort of helped cultivate it. And we say thank you, and we appreciate you for not only being a visionary, but also being someone who cared enough to make sure that the vision became a reality.
Yeah, well, it kind of, you know, my daddy was a preacher. I didn't know him. My daddy died about, let's see, my daddy died about 6 months before I was born. Died with prostate cancer. He was 47 years old. My daddy was a preacher, but I didn't know him. But my mama was able, out of the 9 children, and I was next to the last one, there was something she instilled in us during that process that would make it mean that you would have to give something to the community. And my family going to school, working their way through school, paying your own way through college and this kind of thing. It was just, and it was easy. It was easy in the sense that once you are imbued by a dream, you can't stop until that dream is fulfilled, even when it has passed on to new generation. And that has happened, and you are from that same kind of material. See, Walter H. Watson, all the grandparents, all of them. And not only you, but all of the other young people around it, they were on fire for something. And that made the difference in the church.
listen, we thank you, Reverend White, for your time, but most importantly, we appreciate the time that you spent at Union Branch Baptist Church cultivating a belief that there can be a miracle not only at Union Branch, but on Union Branch Baptist Church Road. So we thank you for that and coining the phrase, the miracle on Union Branch Baptist Church Road.
That's right. And then it continues. It doesn't stop, see. How it reaches into the lives of little children and adults. Folks come out who never heard of all of this before, but they were caught by that spirit. It was a spirit that directed it. And it was passed from one generation to another. You look forward to being somebody. You look forward to aspiring to help. That kind of thing comes with it. And that's what moves people, that's what moves the world. It's churches all over and schools that help to change the minds of people so that everything becomes good for us. And you're part of it. What you're doing there is a part of it. Grows with that same tradition. Same thing that makes you where you are now, doing what you're doing now, spreading information, carrying goodwill, seeing that people look for the best and the highest, and let them be inspired that all things are possible through that fellowship with Christ, because He's the one who will have the power.
Thank you.
And it's
Sir.
easy. It's simple.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Yeah. So keep doing what you're doing, because you're telling the story now, and it continues.
Yes, sir.
A miracle. It will be a miracle on Union Branch Road, but that miracle can happen on other roads, because the miracle is not on the road. The miracle is in the people, and the people make the road.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So